Hello, and welcome to English for Vietnamese Speakers. I'm Lance, and in today's episode, we're going to be digging into the P versus the B sound. Now, Vietnamese has these sounds. They're a bit different in Vietnamese than they are in English, and the mechanics are a bit different. And so we're going to dig into that in this episode. So, why are the B and P sounds challenging? One of the big reasons is Vietnamese tends to focus more on the vowels and not so much on the consonants. And particularly in the case of the P, there's not as much breath in making the P sound in Vietnamese as there is in English, which makes it more of a quieter sound and is one of the reasons why it's easy to not distinguish between the B and P sounds, which makes it difficult to understand and try to figure out for an English speaker which sound you're trying to make. We'll get into the mechanics of that in just a minute. The B sound is similar, but again, the voicing in English of the B sound is a bit stronger than it is in Vietnamese. And again, as Vietnamese speakers, you're gonna not want to make these sounds louder, but we're gonna overemphasize making these sounds in order to get you comfortable and again, to develop that muscle memory so that you can speak these two sounds more clearly and your listeners can clearly differentiate between the two sounds. All right, let's get into the mechanics. The B sound is a voiced sound. We've talked about this. That means your vocal cords are involved. There's a buzz. Buh, buh. Now, it's important to start the vocalization before you open your lips and to continue the vocalization after you do that. This gets the clear vocalization through the entire mechanics of the B sound. Buh, buh. And it's that in order to do the vocalization, you have to have air passing over your vocal cords. And this is just going to build up just a slight pressure inside of your mouth that then you're just going to open and release. It shouldn't be a strong release. It should be a rather soft release. Buh, buh. You might feel a bit of a puff of air, but not anything like you will when we get to the P. The key is the voicing. Make sure you start the voicing before you open your mouth and continue the voicing through opening your mouth until just after. Now, the P sound is not voiced. We don't get our vocal cords involved. And the entire sound is just made with that puff of air that comes out. And this is going to be strange because in Vietnamese, you don't typically have that puff of air to make that sound. But in English, that's the key to making that sound. And if you put your hand in front of your mouth while you're making the sound, you should feel a strong puff of air. And again, it's that puff of air and that breath out, that strong breath out that explodes the lips open, that makes the P sound in English. Now, if you watch my other videos, like my TH video and my S and SH videos, I talk about spitting the sounds. And the TH, we don't spit, nor do we do the S or the SH. The P, on the other hand, feel free to spit away. You almost do spit the sound out of your mouth. And again, I want you to overemphasize that strong puff of air from the P, because as you're learning and developing your ability to speak the language and say these two sounds and making sure that the two sounds sound differently, you need to overtrain and retrain your brain and your mouth to make this sound. Both of these sounds have no tongue involvement. Your teeth aren't involved in making these sounds. It's just your lips, your air. In the B sound, don't forget the voicing. And that's the mechanics of how you make the B sound and the P sound and how you make them sound different. Buh. All right, now on to the exercises. All right, now let's work on the word pairs. So our first word pair is bat. Bat. Remember, the B is a voice sound. Make sure you start voicing before you try to make the sound, and you finish voicing as you're opening up and transitioning into that A. And now for the second part of the pair, pat, pat. See how I'm overemphasizing the P? It's important to do that, especially the airflow. As a Vietnamese speaker, this is going to be very unnatural, but you've got to get used to having that airflow whenever you say the P words. All right, now the second pair. Bin, bin. And the second part of the pair, pin, pin. Again, you really want to spit that P out, okay? Now for a third pair, big, big. And the second part, pig, pig. Really spit that P out for the pig. Now let's work on a couple of ending sounds. Let's work on a pair, cab, cab. And one of the easy ways to make the B sound at the end, you can't do this when it's at the beginning, but at the end, just close your mouth when you finish with the B sound. This prevents you from doing a puff of air at the end, which can help with pronouncing it. Now, you can open your mouth. I can say cab, and I get a more richer B sound, but until you get used to how to say the B sound, it's probably better just to end with your mouth closed. Now, don't swallow the sound, but you can just gently close your mouth. Cab. And now for the second part of that pair, cap, cap. See how I'm really blowing that P out at the end? You've got to get your ending sounds and make sure that you're really using those endings and really making them clear. Especially in these words, the difference between a cab and a cap is pretty significant when speaking. And if you switch the two around or make it hard for an English speaker to understand which one you're trying to use, we're not going to understand what you're saying. Now let's try another one at the end. Cub, cub. See how that just naturally just finishes. Close your mouth and finish the sound. Again, you don't have to make your lips too tight. It's just a natural, relaxed cub. And now cup, cup. Really get that blow that P out. And you can tell very distinct sounds here. Again, voicing on the B, cub. You're voicing all the way, even after you close your mouth for a bit. You're still voicing that B. But on the P, no voicing. Cup, cup. Okay? One more. Tab, tab. Again, just a nice natural close on the B. Tap, tap. And now let's do a couple of sentences. Again, speaking in sentences is just going to help you because speaking individual words is easy. You can use those to practice and get better, but really putting it all together is when you speak in the sentences. Your brain is going to be thinking about what's the next word and how do I pronounce it and lots of other things. And that's when you're going to naturally regress back to your muscle memory and the way that you say these sounds in Vietnamese, which again, is the way they're said in Vietnamese. They're just not said that way in English. So again, we've got to continue to train our brains and train our muscles. All right, first sentence. And listen to the way I really draw these sounds out. Ben put the big bag by the park. Again, really blow out those P's. The B's you can't blow out, but really get that voicing in and try to make them a bit longer. You can't lengthen them like you do a TH or an S or an SH, but you can make them a bit longer and get more of that voicing into the sound. All right. Let me read that sentence one more time. Ben put the big bag by the park. All right. And now a second sentence. The pub had a cute pup named Bob. Bob is an interesting one to try to say the second B with your mouth closed. You can, and it can be natural. This one, it's probably easier to say Bob. But if you do, be careful that you don't try to say Bop or Bob. Just be more natural with the B. And just, again, the voicing is important, and you're not puffing. But when you do the Bob, the voice in your mouth is going to naturally open because of the air building up. You don't want too much pressure to build up because you don't want to pop. Okay? The pub had a cute pup named Bob. All right? Now a third sentence. The pig bit the peach at the beach. Now, peach and beach, you got to make sure that you say them differently. It's a big part of working on this sentence is distinguishing between those two, because the only distinguishing is the P on peach and the B on beach. You have to make sure that you distinguish between the two sounds, or the two words are going to sound the same, and you're not going to know what you're saying. All right, one more sentence. I bought a peach and put it in my bag. I bought a peach and put it in my bag. All right. So that's some sentences for you to practice with. If you liked the video, please hit like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks.